we don't actually care that much about how much you like your coach. I mean, yeah, that's nice, but it's actually secondary to, are you getting the results that you signed up for?
Yeah.
All right, welcome to the Hale Fitness Podcast. I am Coach Jay. I am here with
Coach Katie
and
Coach Wendy
and
Coach Rebecca.
All right, so today one of the things we do at the end of when somebody goes through our program is we ask them for feedback. And this is one of the things that has been really a big driver for improvement over the years since we've started doing this. And one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we got was people don't always know what services are available to them when they sign up for coaching. And so what we thought we would do today is talk about, like, what is the process of coaching? What are some of the services available? You know, what are some of the things that we do that maybe you wouldn't expect that we do? Because, you know, if you don't take advantage of all of this stuff, then you're not getting the most out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we got a list here.
Yes.
Personal coaching. So I guess the question is, why are we going through this list? It's not just to, you know, give you like a list of things, but why is this important?
I would say, since I'm the one who usually has these conversations, maybe 1 out of 10 people who I talk to ask for it. Like,
Yeah.
It would be nice if there was like a 1-pager
Yeah.
that went over what services
Yeah.
you have. And so this, I would say, is broad enough to allow us to create new ideas, but also, captures what we currently offer the people who are with us now.
Yep. So here's the thing, like, we changed our kind of business model back in 2020 during, you know, that whole thing. And part of the reason we did that is, you know, we kind of sat back and looked at why do we exist? Why are we here as a business? And part of why we're here as a business is to help people get results, like help people, you know, improve their lives through health and fitness, right? So get strong, lose weight, because we believe that when you are strong,
Capable and confident.
you live a better life.
yes, solid, nailed it. But, you know, thinking back when I was just talking to a former member of mine, who at our gym in London, and he said, you know, every class I used to come to when I started was just you and me.
Yeah.
And I don't really remember that so much, but I remember most of my classes were just one-on-one. And all I was trying to do was find out what that person's goal was and how can I get them to that goal. And then as your business grows, as it starts to expand, it becomes harder to do that. And during the lockdown, we were really just focused on, like, how do we help people keep moving? How do we help them get to their goals? And so we kind of reset. We hit reset and we said, actually, how do we build a program from scratch that helps people get to all of their goals? And as a result, we kind of came up with our personal coaching program, which includes fitness, nutrition, and accountability, right? And since we started that, we kind of iterated a bunch of times and we've improved a bunch of things, but the same goal is there. I mean, it is just helping you get to your goal. So when people come in, we almost like harass them and ask them, like, what are your goals? What are your goals? It's like you have the sales call. It's like, what are your goals? And then you have the kickoff call. It's like, hey, you remind me of your goals. And then the first call with a coach, hey, let's talk about your goal. And then we actually even have a section in our you know, online system that says your goal. And so everybody knows what it is. But in order to get there, we do a ton of different things, right?
Yep.
And so let's just start with kind of how people get started and then sort of what the kickoff call is like and then, you know, kind of what the process is from there. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So when people start, like, they get on a call with us, and the experience of that call is really it's me or Heidi just asking questions. We're just trying to find out, like, what brought them here. And it's not like questions like, what are you looking for? But it's like, why do you even want to go to a gym in the first place? Because you can find classes and, you know, weights and stuff anywhere. But why are you looking specifically at our place, right? And so we ask them a bunch of questions. And if we find out that there's a good fit, like somebody, you know, is really all in on something and they want to improve something, then we say, okay, great. We might be able to help you. Here's what our program looks like. and we go through kind of the 8-week program, and we say, hey, you know, our next program starts whenever it starts. Here's how you get started, and give them a chance to get started. So once they do that, I will set up a call with Rebecca, right, who is the head coach, and we'll send a text kind of intro to everyone, just like, hey, here, meet all the coaches. What kind of things happen on that kickoff call?
Yeah, so I read the notes that are there.
Yeah.
But by the time I talk to them, they've had long conversations.
Yeah.
So I want to get them in the gym. I want to get a plan for them. I want them to start kind of visualizing what success will look like when they come in. So, you know, I'll review goals. I will have them restate it to me. I'll get a little bit of clarity. But my primary thing is to get them in the gym and, you know, trust the coaches that are going to lead them on.
Well, you're also assigning them to a coach, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So you assign them to a coach, and that would be Wendy or Katie or Christina. Sometimes yourself, not often. And then one time we assigned one to Mike. But yeah, so you'll assign them to a coach, and then the idea is like you'll schedule that kickoff with the coach.
Yes.
Yeah. And what happens during that kickoff, like that first session?
We go over a few admin stuff, like, so most likely the apps that they'll use, right? So we'll get them situated with that. We go over, it's more, I like to call it a coaching call. Now that, you know, that person has been assigned to me, I personally want to know a little bit more about that, right?
Yeah.
We we figure out the schedule.
Yeah.
That's another one.
So do we also send a questionnaire before that, right? So asking all about like what your nutrition background is, you know, kind of documenting some of the goals, that kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And then with that being said, we also, I think Rebecca also schedules the nutrition appointment sometimes. I don't think you're doing that anymore. I don't remember anymore because I haven't had a new client anytime soon. But I sometimes do it too if, you know, we have to switch anything. But so we schedule that nutrition appointment, the first one, and then also figure out the schedule. Like what small groups will they be going to?
Yeah. So you're sitting down with them. So there's some admin work. That's all of that stuff. But that's not the main point of that first session, though, right?
Nope. They also do their first workout.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, like, what kind of workouts do you have them doing?
Yeah, we start with like, you know, I would say like, yeah, the whole point of that thing is like they've been like on their head about, okay, the goals and the things that I want, and they've got all this energy. And it's like in that first meeting, it's like it's kind of like the rubber meets the pavement. It's like, okay, cool. Like these are things that are now on your calendar. This is like exactly where we're starting. It's kind of like an assessment, like that. The nutrition questionnaire that we send them is a bit of an assessment. Yeah. It's like, what's your history like? And it gives us a starting place. And same thing with the workout.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll have them do some movements that are basically like expressions of the different ways that humans move. Like we can squat, we can step, we can hinge, we can push, we can pull, we can like squeeze, right? Or sit up. And so it's like, let me see this wide range of things. Like, how do you move without me really telling you or cueing you? Like, I just want to see how your body figures out the problem of like, how do you get down and up?
Yeah.
And so like I think of that whole first thing is like, let me see where you're at relative to where you're telling me you want to be. And then I can start connecting the dots. Like, let me put your plan together from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the first meeting.
Me too. I love it.
It's my favorite one.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're also doing like a scan as well, right? Seeing what their body fat is and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really just like a full on kind of assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I tell people on the kickoff call that your first day the workout's called baseline, and the whole theme of the day is to get your current baseline. Where are you at today? There's going to be very little like coaching in the sense of, you know, this is how you move. It's us watching, assessing, determining like what path forward we need to take.
Yeah.
And it puts a little less pressure on the person when they're thinking about coming in, because it's not like we're
Expecting
testing you and
anything.
yeah. It's just like, hey, we're going to meet you with where you're at.
Yeah.
So just all it is we want to see how you're currently moving so
Yeah.
we can chart a course.
Yeah. So we're collecting all this information, and you're doing this with your coach, right? So this is kind of this first one is a one-on-one session, right? And then sort of based on that, then the coach puts together the plan for both nutrition and fitness, and kind of gets agreement with you. Does that happen on the first session, or is it like afterwards?
Yeah.
And it's different per client, right?
I would say like, and we're just talking about like new folks, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Totally new folks. I would say on the first, so here's what I notice happens. Like usually somebody has a goal, but it's a general goal. I want to get stronger. I want to get, lose 10 pounds,
Yep.
right? And well, that would be a pretty specific goal. But like get stronger, lose weight, are the general, like oftentimes the things. But usually people they don't know what that even looks like. So it's hard for people to define anything more specific than that.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I don't know how you measure that, right? And so what I notice is like that first day, you're getting those assessments or whatnot. And then after the first week, sometimes 2 weeks, it's like, then there's a second conversation.
Yep.
It's like, okay, now let's check in. Do these goals still, now that you've kind of been exposed to these different movements, like do these goals still feel relevant?
Yeah.
Great, now let's assign some idea of what it means. We use our athlete levels as kind of
Yeah.
targets and things like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers the question, but yeah, I feel like we do get specific after a couple of weeks, but like those first couple of weeks, a lot of it is just like, let's just like expose your body to some different things that are
So you're giving them, like after that session, you're giving them some basic nutrition recommendations and basic workout recommendations.
Yeah.
Where it's like you'll probably be attending a small group at a time that works for you, or maybe even a little bit of like personal coaching, or depending on what you're doing, you may end up doing stuff on your own, in your own personal gym, right? But you're giving them some basic workouts, basic nutrition recommendation, so that they can kind of get moving. And then once you've kind of done that, then there's additional stuff that happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you kind of dig in further on the goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the reason I'm kind of getting into this is because it is so much different than what people expect at any kind of gym or any kind of personal training. I mean, the fact that we ask so many questions at the beginning, because the truth is, like, there's a lot more that people won't tell you, like, than they will tell you.
Yeah.
And so we keep asking the same questions so we can make sure that all the answers are on alignment so that we're making a plan that works, right? So then once you kind of get into it, you're basically like, you start to get into the program, you're doing some workouts, you're starting to see some progress. Coaches are checking in, like how often?
Weekly, I would say.
Weekly.
Yeah. And that's weekly in person.
It could be. It could
Yeah.
be in person, just depending schedule and all that stuff. But yeah.
Yeah. But you're also communicating with people on like
messaging more often.
Messaging.
Like after someone starts, sometimes for me it's like daily, every other day we'll reach out to them and just like check in.
Yeah.
Usually they're pretty sore.
Yeah.
Usually they have some questions
Yeah.
about food or whatnot. So
Yeah.
I would say the takeaway is there's always access to a coach, whether it's the coach who just happens to be there when you come in,
Yeah.
or your point coach. But you're never an island when you start.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it as well is like, as you kind of go through this, you realize that there is one person that is kind of in charge of your program that makes sure that you like they're taking care of you. But then there's a whole team of people that you can work with as well, right? And it's like, I think that's one thing that people don't quite get is just like, you have a coach. So if Katie is your coach, she's your point coach, she's making sure that you're showing up, doing the workouts, whatever. But if you have questions about like, I don't know, pelvic floor dysfunction or something, you might talk to Coach Rebecca about it, right? And if you have questions about like mobility, maybe you're dealing with an injury, you might talk to Coach Heidi. So you have a whole team of coaches that are kind of available, but also your coaches kind of got you. Right? Yeah.
And I would say that the point coach is the one who would say, hey, that's a great question.
Yeah.
You have pelvic floor dysfunction. I'm going to loop Rebecca in and, set up a time or connect on Slack, which we use. So I always describe on the kickoff call that the point coach is like your general practitioner at Kaiser.
Yeah.
Like they're the person you talk to, you check in with, but don't expect them to have all the answers.
Yeah.
That's when we get to utilize each other.
Yeah. So they're kind of going through this sort of 8-week program. They get to week 4 and then they're checking in with you, right? And what are you looking for in that check-in?
I'm looking at where they're at, what they've done, where they're at. It's generally where I can see if any changes need to be made, and I mean that's rare that it is. But I can dig in a little bit if the goals still feel a little too broad. One question I like to ask is like, what does success look like for you at the end of the 8 weeks?
Yeah.
By then, if they come in with I want to lose 50 pounds or I want to lose weight, they have a better sense of what that really means.
Yeah.
And so, I'll get an answer like, after I realize now that it's unhealthy if I do it at this pace. I actually want to do this. And then we can start talking a little bit more long term as well.
Yeah.
So I would say it's like a pulse check.
Yeah.
In terms of what they've accomplished so far, where they're currently at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is like, and this is one thing we implemented after a bunch of feedback is just like, actually, head coach needs to check in a couple of times during that 8 weeks to make sure that like, it's a funny thing. Like sometimes people won't say something to Katie, but they'll say it to you, or maybe you just ask a question differently. And it's really funny from a client perspective is they think by saying that they're getting their coach in trouble.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I can always tell when there's something more that's not being said. And I mean, these are great coaches. Like you don't have to tell me they're great. And I actually say that to people sometimes when they're just like waxing poetic. I'm like, oh no, but Katie or Wendy's such a great coach. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
But, you came on to get a result. And so all I'm looking at is, are we doing what we need to get that result? And it has nothing to do with the coach that you currently have. We all have blind spots. And so I'm just trying to find if there is a blind spot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like a fact checker, I guess, or
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The one thing, and I really want to emphasize this, if you have feedback and you share it with Rebecca, your coach doesn't get in trouble. Like you're like, actually, it's the only way we can improve.
We get sent to the corner. Time out.
That's right.
100 burpees.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds fun.
No, I mean, not 100.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like we are constantly looking for feedback. I mean, you just put out a start, stop, continue box in the front because what we have found is that our business improves based on the feedback that we get. And the one thing we use to measure how successful we are is, did you actually get to the goal?
Yeah.
Right? And if you got to the goal, you'll want to continue. And if you continue, then your coach gets to keep working with you.
Yeah.
Right? So you're right. Like we don't actually care that much about how much you like your coach. I mean, yeah, that's nice, but it's actually secondary to, are you getting the results that you signed up for?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that is to say, if you're like, man, Katie or Wendy is an asshole,
Definitely. Yeah.
Check
Wendy.
then I would
yourself.
dig in deeper. What was said? Why?
on a scale of 1 to 10, how big of an asshole?
That is yet to happen. No.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing though. I think it's actually really important to feel comfortable sharing that stuff. And this is, fitness and nutrition is a sensitive topic.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's very uncomfortable to share that stuff. But the more real and honest that we get, the more we can help. We can help you.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, if you heard some of the feedback that we give to each other behind the scenes, you would not be so scared about giving feedback.
Yeah. I mean, working here, you develop thick skin.
Yep.
I mean, not in like a bad way. Like we're
Brown knuckles.
Yeah.
brown knuckled thick skin.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, but you have to take feedback, and it's where we are now is a product of the constant feedback that we're giving each other, that we're being given, and that's the only way we get better.
Yeah. I mean, we talked last time about what it takes to be a coach. Like, thick skin is part of it. Like, it's going to be real uncomfortable if you've never gotten feedback about your coaching or how you deliver to clients, and then you come in here, like, you're going to get a ton of it.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, it's probably not going to work for you.
Yeah.
So that's week 4, and then whatever adjustments you need to make, you feed that back to your coach, whatever, and then the coach kind of goes through, gets you into week 8. And coaches, like, you're doing kind of one-on-one check-ins every week or every other week, yeah? Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I say one-on-one check-ins, they're not you standing next to people like counting their reps, right?
Right.
It's like you're digging into the real stuff. Like what kind of stuff do you deal with in those check-ins?
Well, I would say like one thing that happens usually in 8 weeks. 8 weeks is a long enough period of time for like a little bit of the honeymoon phase to wear off. Whereas someone will come in like really fired up and they'll start out doing all the things and week 2 goes by and then maybe week 3 and it's like, ooh, this doesn't have the same kind of novelty that it once had.
Yeah.
The eating, the workouts or whatnot. And so things start to change, right? Old habits start to come back. A lot of that's really normal thing to happen. And so that's actually to me like kind of where the fun stuff begins because you start digging into like the reason that they're here in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, it's like things get real and it's like, great, this is actually exactly what you came here for. It wasn't to like check all the boxes and get everything perfect. It was actually to mess up. And now we get to like dig and figure out a little bit deeper. So I would say like, yeah, those coaching calls, usually, I mean, a lot of it is around celebrating what is going well, which I found that a lot of people are really bad at doing.
Yeah.
And then we get into the things that are challenging.
Yeah.
And then that's where it's like very much like a lot of asking questions
Yep.
and a lot of digging into people's behaviors, their beliefs,
Yep. Yeah.
their backgrounds sometimes, you know? So all that stuff.
Yeah, that's the real
It's
stuff.
the good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, if that stuff didn't come up, I mean, you could just find any old program and follow it, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a reason why following those programs online hasn't worked for you,
Right.
right? Is because that stuff keeps coming up and you don't know how to deal with it. Yeah. Any other things you cover in those coaching calls?
Yeah, a lot of that stuff. But sometimes there's cases where, like week 7, week 8, that's when we see the progress.
Yeah.
That's when things is like, oh, okay, I'm getting stronger, I'm PRing, and
Yeah.
I'm losing weight. And that's when the momentum starts.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot happened. It's like the first, 6 weeks is like nothing happens, right? And then week 7, week 8, it's like, okay, here we go. This
Yeah.
is where I worked so hard for, right? So it's kind of more like, I wouldn't say graduation, but more, I don't know how to explain it, but that's when they see that all their hard work and all their struggles and all the consistency that they stuck with is actually paying off.
Yeah.
So I see that a lot by like week 7, week 8.
Yeah. So, fun fact, that's why it's 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Because we have done 12 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's actually too long. People quit at week 2 because they're like, oh my God, I don't know how to make this 12 weeks. And then we've done 6 weeks and it's like people do it, but then they don't see the result until week 7, week 8.
Yeah.
And by then it's like at the end of the 6th week, they're like, this didn't do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. That
And
makes
then the
sense.
next 2 weeks, they're like, yo, I'm jacked.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it's just like, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Science.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
So then you start seeing results week 7, week 8,
Uh-huh,
right?
yeah.
And then you have another conversation with Coach Rebecca, and then you start to ask like, okay, what's next?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's where, like, how does that conversation, like, what do you talk about during that?
Well, it's evolved in the last few years.
Yeah.
I would say that last conversation, by then they've developed a pretty good relationship with their point coach.
Yeah.
And I would put people in a couple buckets. Like one, they just tell their coach, hey, I want to stay with you. I want to keep working on things. And then so that conversation, that 8-week conversation, is generally them just singing praises.
So it's like basically like you started to see some results, and then it's like gets really interesting. It's like maybe you came in, you wanted to lose 10 pounds, maybe you lost 10 pounds or 7 pounds, whatever. But you also have started to see all the other things, like, oh, I'm getting stronger. Oh, I might be able to do a pull up or whatever. It's like once you start seeing progress, then you start seeing, that's where people get really motivated.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll say that like what used to be that kind of end of the program conversation is now more that 4th week conversation.
Yeah.
Because, they've seen the progress now. They're happy. I've already received feedback from them from week 4. So, sometimes those conversations don't even happen. They're like, I don't need to talk to you. Like, I have to harass people to talk to me sometimes. So,
Well, I guess what I'm kind of getting to here is at the end of the 8 weeks,
Yeah.
right? Now it's like, what are we doing for the next year? right? So we start to see this progress. We start to see like how this could look for you, and the difference it makes to have a coach that holds you accountable and takes care of your plan. And then we start thinking, what does the next year look like? Because if you can get this in 2 months, what does 12 months look like?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you
Yeah.
can really completely change everything. And we've actually seen that, you know, we get amazing results in the 8 weeks, but it's like the next 8 weeks, right? You were saying that the other day, right?
Yeah.
It's like the next
Best.
8 weeks and the next 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of stuff happens then?
Yeah, it's like, okay, so what I notice is usually there's like this whole foundation, especially if you're coming back or you're relatively new, there's like this whole foundation that has to get laid around different movement patterns and just kind of like getting over some fear around moving your body in certain ways. Sometimes there's mobility limitations. And then on the nutrition front, there's like this whole period of learning that happens in those 8 weeks around like what level of consistency is required to actually see
Yeah.
results. Am I willing to do that? What kind of little adjustments do I need to make along the way? And it's like, finally they get to the end, they're like, they've maybe made some progress, but they've definitely developed a lot of confidence. And then it's like in those next 8 weeks, then all of a sudden it's almost like this exponential curve where it's like, because they have confidence with movement patterns, because they have some base level of strength and improved mobility, it's like now suddenly like load becomes the variable that they start playing with. And so you see someone's deadlift go from like 75 pounds to 175 pounds. I mean, I've seen that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Right. And that's where then too, you can get these huge now gains in muscle, and then you start to see body fat percent drop a lot more. And it's like things kind of start to come together. And like those second 8 weeks are kind of like magic for a lot of people, not for everybody.
Yeah.
I've had clients where it kind of took 9 months to get to that
Yeah.
point. Like just working out different mobility and core issues. And now they're seeing like
Yes.
all of those gains. So it's not always the same timeline, but like that is generally true for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And the cool thing about that is you start to see those in the next 8 weeks, 8 weeks, and you're like, you're only 2 months in. Like, what does 12 months actually look like?
Totally.
I mean, I think people underestimate what they can do in a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? They overestimate what they can do in like 3 months or a month, but they underestimate what consistency will do over the course of the year.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I mean, you can literally transform your entire body in a year. Right? Like depending on where you're starting, but for most people, you can transform your whole body in a year, right? If you just show up consistently and you do the right things, right? So that's where we kind of get into like a little more, the program is a little more personalized, right? You're saying, okay, now I want this goal of getting a pull-up, right? Okay, there's a small group around developing pull-ups, right? Or, hey, you know, weight loss is not as important to me. I want to get stronger. You know, you start to change the nutrition based on that, right? What other things do you do to kind of personalize the program to people?
Training looks different too. So now, let's say one person moves better, is confident, they can start taking group coaching classes, right? And then, you know, that person can take a small group, right?
Yeah.
So that tends to happen too, just depending on the goal. The person may add another day to their routine too as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's another thing that happens a lot. Not that we gain all the strength and confidence, you know, they're coming out of their comfort zone. Not that I'm saying that the small group is not helpful, because it is, right? But because that person is now a bit more advanced, you know, they can handle a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
So that training looks a lot different
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah.
Or it could look the same too as well, but just, you know, with a few tweaks around.
Yeah. How far ahead are you thinking when you're writing plans for your clients?
I personally like to do 2 months to 3 months.
Yeah.
That's just me. I do personally, this is me personal, I do a better job of planning 2 months to 3 months in advance.
Yeah.
And this is when the coaching call comes in, right? And I also, I like to meet with a client once a month to make sure that that is the current
Yeah.
goal, right? That's
Yeah.
it's still the same, but I like to plan 2 months to 3 months in advance.
Yeah. Yeah. How far ahead are you planning, Coach?
Quarterly.
Yeah. So 3 months. Is that the same for you,
Yeah,
Katie?
3
or-
months. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Depending. Like if they have smaller goals that I think that they can reach
Yeah.
faster, like that 3 month time is nice. If like they're a more advanced athlete, I like to think actually more on like a year. Like what's the priority? What has to come first? What has to come second? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But one of the keys to sort of making this work is, you know, as you get more comfortable as an athlete, you have to communicate more about what's going on to your coach, right? Because your coach has kind of got the plan in their head or they've written it down, and it's like, if you start going way off plan because you saw some new fancy thing that you want to do, then it kind of takes you out of the program,
Yeah.
right? And part of the reason people do that is because they aren't kind of aware of all the different things that we do. So we kind of have this list that we go through. So maybe like Rebecca, maybe why don't you take us through this and we can kind of break down what each thing means.
Yeah. Well, so goal setting, we've talked a lot about it. I'll say, when I have kind of those later conversations, so say someone comes in with the goal of, I don't know, losing weight. And what often happens is by that 2-month mark, they're like, I really love picking up my body weight from the ground. And so it's like, am I going to still be working on losing weight for this year? And it's like, no, that's the great thing is goals change.
Yep.
And you may find that in, 6 months from now, you want to now get your body weight over your head. And so we will work with you to make those adjustments.
Yeah.
So goal setting, I will say, is constant.
Levitation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put your body over your head.
We teach magic.
Goals. That is a goal. Okay, carry on.
Yeah. So that's the goal setting, acknowledging that, goals are ever changing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
How many people that you've worked with have changed their goal?
All of them.
All of them. Every single one of mine has changed their goal at some point.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a good thing.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
I have one person who has had the same goal, but it's such a big, broad goal that the subcategory
Yeah.
is constantly changing.
Yeah.
Like this year to get it, we're going to do X.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. The thing that's actually really important is your goal might be to get stronger. Your goal might be to lose weight. Your goal might be to get a pull up. Your goal might be to recover from a knee injury or just get back into a routine. We can cover all those things. And that was actually one of the things we were talking about today is just like, it's really hard for us to actually find coaches that can help us personally with all the goals that we have, because there's not many places that can handle all those different things to a level that we would be satisfied with. Right. And I think that's really like being able to grab somebody and say, hey, can you help me with this? And they say, yes, I got you. You can do this, this, and this. And then all you have to do is follow it. Like that's pretty incredible. Right. I mean, trying to find it myself, it's pretty tough.
Yeah. This is actually me looking for a coach. What I do for my clients, I have not been able to find it.
Yeah.
And it made me realize like, oh, okay, we are, it's a reminder of how good of a program we have and how great of coaches we are. Because I haven't been able to find that thing, but I haven't found a second me out there. Another Wendy.
All right, so everyone put your arm over your head, pat yourself on the back.
But yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to find that. So
it is. And that's, part of it is we delivered so many different parts of these things, like a little nutrition here, fitness here. Let's get you Oli lifting. Let's help you recover from, that's a postpartum, all these different things. And we've had to learn all these skills. And it's like, if you have the ability to do all of that stuff, then you can help a lot more people. Right. So that's why we do it. All right. What's the next thing on the list?
Accountability.
What does that mean?
Wendy? We're talking about accountability.
So I think this ties in with habit tracking, I believe. This is what I see when I see accountability. So habit tracking. I'm a big believer in tracking habits. And when I say tracking habits, this can be one thing or this could be multiple things, but doing something pretty much every day will definitely get you results and will definitely get you there. It's also another way to get more feedback of what's happening with the current plan. And it helps me also get more feedback from myself to cater to that client better. So that's what I see when I see accountability. It's just tracking something or keeping up with something. It's basically it's my job with my clients.
Yeah. I always describe this when I talk to people about it. There's 4 levels here. So one is like you have a coach and that coach holds you accountable. Like you said, you want this. Did you do the thing? Yes, no, right? Number 2 is you have a whole team of coaches. So it's just like, it's not just Wendy that's holding people accountable. And we've had this before. It's just like, hey, did your coach say that was okay to do? Right? You have a whole gym full of coaches that will do that. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you mean? I didn't.
Well, we've had this happen recently.
I see.
Yeah. So the third one is you're doing weekly check-ins or sometimes daily check-ins if there's a new habit, right? And then the fourth is there's a whole community of people here that like you just show up enough and hang around these people, you're gonna get in better shape.
Yeah.
Because they're just like a bunch of adults that are doing amazing things.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how I think of accountability. Yeah. Next one is open gym hours.
Check.
Yes. Check.
So our regular open gym is 2 to 4. This came up on a couple times on calls where, members are like, oh, I can't make this class.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, as a personal coaching client, you can come in whenever you want. I mean, obviously when we're open.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically Monday through Friday, like 5 to 7 p.m., 5:45 a.m. to 7 p.m. If there's space, there is a spot for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's generally always somewhere you can go.
Yeah.
Pretty big gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the thing. There should be no excuse for you to not get your workout in.
Yeah.
Right? Cool. Next one's progress tracking. Right? So we do scans and whatnot. Right?
We keep notes.
Yes. We have probably like, if you printed it out, like at least 1,000
God,
pages
it's
of
crazy.
notes. Yeah. Like anyone, if you sign up in coaching, you have a whole book of notes that we could write about you, about all of your workouts, your nutrition meetings, any discussions we've had internally. Like it's actually pretty extensive.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like if you go to a doctor, well, not doctors nowadays, but maybe your dentist,
Yeah.
right, has all these notes about your teeth health and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. I'm retesting baseline with on Friday with some people who have been here now for a year. And they're just like, I mean, they're kind of taking it for granted now that I track all this. They're like, you have our times and stuff written down, right? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I even have your
That's
scalings.
true.
I have exactly like
What
how
you
you
did.
did the push
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty amazing that
Yeah.
we have that.
Yeah. That's thanks to Mike for that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
What's the next one?
Mobility assessment.
So I don't know if there's anyone that's walked in here that hasn't had some sort of little like ache or pain. I mean, it's like almost everyone or some sort of history of something or another. And usually that means that there's some sort of compensation, like maybe one of their legs is stronger than the other or whatever. And so Heidi does mobility assessments to see like what work do you need?
Yeah.
And then she'll give you recommendations for like how to do it.
Well, I'll even say the coaches, these guys do mobility assessments depending on the need. So these guys do it. And then, if you have something major that needs to be done, Heidi can also do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no excuse for you to not be able to work out.
We have a knowledgeable staff.
Yes. Nutrition guidance.
I think that's also one of the biggest things I see progress in the first 8 weeks. Mobility.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that can happen fast.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I couldn't move my leg this way, now I can. Or like, it's kind of crazy.
It is insane.
I'm like, wow, you've lived your life not being able to
So
put your arm,
insane.
I was
up there.
talking to
Now you can.
one of our athletes who's really strong. He's a police officer. And I just remember like when we were doing a check-in, I'm asking about the program and how it's going. And he's just like, I never realized how important stretching is. Like, I know the coaches would talk about it and I'm like, yeah, whatever. But I actually finally did it because of this program.
Yeah.
And it's made a world of difference. So
That's amazing.
Yeah. So stretching.
Yeah. Nutrition guidance and biweekly scan.
Yep.
So
we do that.
that's right. That's what you do.
That's us.
Check and check. We do the coaching calls, which you talked about. You have access one-on-one to any of the coaches. So, we have a Slack channel. We also text you at the beginning. So like, if you're like, hey, Katie, you were talking about how, you should do this on whatever, on the bar muscle up. Like you can send Katie a message and she will generally respond, right? With a reasonable time frame. But, I don't think people take advantage of this enough,
Yeah.
right? I see it when people are around, they kind of grab us and they ask questions or whatever. But it's like we talk about stuff on the podcast all the time. And if there's a question that comes up like, Rebecca, why do you eat 200 grams of protein? You can ask her, right?
I saw on the Morning Chalk Up or something today that Noah Olson he only eats 200 grams of protein.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I eat as much as Noah Olson. He
He's
also
nice.
eats 550 grams of carbs.
He's kind of a little
yeah,
dude,
yeah.
Yeah, he eats a lot of
Yeah,
carbs.
I was gonna say he has to eat more of the other stuff.
it's the
yeah.
carbs,
yeah.
though. He's like 5'6" though.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh,
5'6"?
Yeah.
he looks pretty swole.
How tall are you?
5'3" and a half.
Yeah. See, what happens is when you are shorter, you look more swoller.
Yeah, that's what they say.
like a bulldog.
That's right.
What?
Yes.
Wow. Oh, sometimes you walk like that too.
You got to, man.
I walk like this.
That's right.
Yeah, you're
gotta-
like, I'm coming for this workout.
You got to intimidate all of the
right.
German shepherds that you see around.
So fun fact. We have a client here at the gym, and do you guys have seen the movie Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys know the big bald dude?
Debo.
Yeah.
Debo.
So that one morning, that client was like, you remind me of that person. And I was like, but I'm so tiny.
Of Debo?
Yeah.
Is it because you're cross-eyed? Cross-eyed?
I don't know, cross-eyed. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you're so intimidating.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, well, that's not nice. But yeah, so. fun
I
fact.
love that. I am going to totally use that.
Debo.
This is why I didn't say anything to you or any of you guys. Because
Debo coming.
Oh shit! Here come Debo. Give me your stuff.
give me that money.
Yeah, yeah. And
What's up, Smoke?
And then,
Sounds
yeah,
right.
yeah, and then he knocked in, and then you got knocked the fuck out. Yeah, that's you. That's you.
Definitely.
Didn't you tell us a story once about how you went? I remember that. You remember? I remember that. Remember in COVID, like we were doing some like round robin of like a story to
Oh,
tell.
yes.
And hers was like in high school. She went like,
Yes.
Oh, she just.
she hit someone.
I did.
Oh,
I did.
so you
Dang,
really- I know.
wow, you do remember. Look at that.
Debo.
Went into my mental
All right.
memory palace.
All right, so small group one-on-one specialized sessions. We also have specialized knowledge around injury, postpartum pregnancy, eating disorder recovery, gymnastics, Olympic lifting. What else? There's like tons of stuff.
Running.
Yeah, endurance.
Endurance, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hair care.
Chinese pole climbing. Yeah, we got that.
Tree climbing.
Yeah, tree climbing. Yeah, anything, guitar lessons. Yeah, all that stuff.
Full service.
Yeah, full service.
Burpee master.
Kettlebell master? We have a kettlebell master.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, he's a
Breathing. We
Yeah.
have
Breathing.
breathing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a tough
that's a
one.
big one. Yeah.
expert on breathing. I've been doing it all my life.
You've been doing it wrong.
That's one of those things. That's a great statement. You've been breathing wrong your whole life. Yeah. All right. So we put this list together. Is there anything we missed?
No.
We got everything. I'm sure we'll add more. Yeah. But the point is this: if you have a goal that you are hoping to achieve around fitness, around getting stronger, around losing weight, we got you. We got you. Anything else to add here?
No, we can't wait to meet you.
We cannot wait to meet you.
Or
if we already
glad
know
we
you.
met you.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. But hide your chains when Wendy comes around.
Wow. Oh my God.
Give me that money.
What is the thing you said? What you got on my 40, homie? Yeah, that's what it was.
All right. We need to like the outro music needs to be like keep their head ringing. Or something.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll end it with that. Thank y'all for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, we've got plenty of others. Go check out this one over here.